A little trouble getting in here after jumping off the Mac and Jack show quickly. Great to have you all with us this morning on this little dreary day here in upstate New York as we hit the day after Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving with family and friends, and we did. It's been we've had like a week of Thanksgiving, it seems. But Black Friday's here, lots of football. I'm not sure if I'll be joined here this morning by the man New Yorker. I've not heard from him. He could be traveling. If he pops in, great. We're kind of winging it. I got a couple topics written down, but I didn't bring up anything. We'll see what the Mad New Yorker's got on his mind, as I did see him just pop in. We'll take your topics. We'll talk about anything. Today's kind of a wide open thing. I got a few things down to chat about if we need prompting, but we're going to kind of wing it today. And we're live on TGI Sports Talk, of course, on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch us on Twitter later. We're on Let's Talk Sports on YouTube. We're on Northeast Streaming Sports, Facebook, YouTube, and live on Roku. Get that Northeast Streaming Sports app downloaded on your Roku device. Lots of great shows. Same thing with LTS. Great content, lots of great shows. Mac has done a great job. Mac and Linda both have done a great job at Northeast Streaming Sports and getting a really cohesive lineup together Monday through Sunday, and some great content and original content. So we welcome everybody. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams over there at RW's Media, and specifically the Sports Corner, which he does with Smoke and Jim Frazier on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock on WBVP, 12:30 a.m., 99.3 FM. So we'll get into some stuff. I have no idea where we're going to go today. Hopefully you guys have got yourselves. We got some comments here. We'll get 2 minutes as soon as I bring in Carlos. Good morning, Carlos. How are you?
Morning, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed your families and friends and the food.
Oh, the food. I'm done with the food. Let's see who we got in here with us. And if we got guys to drive, if you got stuff you want to talk about, Carlos, as I said, we're kind of winging it today because I didn't have time to kind of put a lot of stuff together. I made a few notes this morning if we need some prompting, but we'll see what people got to say. As we've got Alec with us. He's already in the middle of the afternoon over there in the UK. But good afternoon to you and happy Thanksgiving. I don't know, do they celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK as we do? I know Canada actually was a month ago.
Yeah, Canada has their Thanksgiving Day on a different date.
They do. It's in October for sure. Good morning, Dave Guyette. How things are well up there in Johnstown. Bodkins, Nick
Bodkins.
One of the great content.
Good morning, Bodkins.
Does some great,
drop in. I was about to say something about your cheese heads.
Does some great stuff on LTS, and you know what? You want to have a conversation about the Packers? Man, nice job yesterday.
Let's go. I'm not a believer yet.
Lions
I'm not Justin Bieber yet, and I'm not a believer yet. But
Lions helped him out a lot. But Jordan Love played like a NFL quarterback yesterday, and you got to be excited. If you got
to give the kid some props. 3 games in a row that he's stepped up his game. I'm not calling him a great quarterback, but he's been serviceable, right? We should use that word. And he's allowed himself to just let himself go. I think the pressure, he don't have any pressure in Green Bay,
Yeah.
Alec,
real quick, Alec, I'll come back to your comment. I'll put up for the Mad New Yorker in a little bit. We'll stick with Nick for a second. He does, and Nick, I do appreciate you worrying about me and Scott at the home. And yes, we were served very well. They chopped all my food up for me very nicely, like I like it. And,
did they spoon feed you, Keith? That's
always. It's the spoon feeding and the sponge baths is why I stay there in the first place.
It's a good deal if you think about it.
Yeah, but
we should retire early, man. Bombs and spoon fed meals.
I just hope I'll be Nick to the punch. I just hope sometimes when I'm not paying attention, it's not Scott giving me that sponge bath. That's all. Let me see what else Nick's got. I'm going to come back to your stuff, I promise you, Alec. Nick's got. That was the best game we played all year.
I think so. Well-balanced game.
I said this on the Mac and Jack show earlier, and I've been very harsh, and we all have, about the bad play in the NFL. There's a lot of it. But one thing we sometimes lose sight of is some of the bad play is caused by good play by other teams, right? And I say that the Lions shot themselves in the foot all day, but look at the defense of the Packers had something to do with that too. So kudos to them. They played a great game. And yes, you are directly in a playoff hunt now, Nick. Not in it yet, but keep playing football like this, you'll be there.
Gotta have some love, man. You gotta have love.
I said earlier, I like them. I wasn't getting down on a lot of Packer fans that I know were, including my brother and some other guys I know here. You got to give a guy a chance. I know it's his third year, but he hasn't played.
It's not
play.
I know, Keith. It's not that. It's the fact that you're looking at this guy, and there's other quarterbacks who are first-year quarterbacks who have better stats than this guy, and that's the biggest measuring bar sometimes that is irrelevant or should be relevant if you know who you have in your QB. For me, for instance, I never thought that the Packers made a good choice picking him. I didn't like him at UCLA. I couldn't tell if he was a kind of guy that wanted to play
Utah.
Did he really? Utah?
He's not a Georgia. Where is he from, Nick? He's not a UCLA guy, is he? I thought he's from Utah myself. I'm not sure where he's from.
I know he was from like the West Coast, and I was like, I didn't know if that guy wanted to play football or just be in the NFL, So
let's see where it's college. Keep talking while I look.
Yeah, so I was
Utah State.
Utah State, yeah. I'm sorry. I said UCLA. I'm sorry. I know there was a U there. I just couldn't remember. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
That's a good bailout there, Carlos.
No, but like it just was. He just didn't have that. I don't know. It just didn't seem like that was the type of guy that the Packers needed to replace an Aaron Rodgers. So I was thinking, like, as far as what the Packers had, but then they went ahead and got a coach that I'm not too keen on. So,
that coach is keeping his job because he's doing a really good job with this team.
The coach that
he would just
going to keep his job until that kid.
Shanahan. We already know this drill. He coached with Shanahan. He can't be any good. We already know this drill.
No, it was what he did in Tennessee. Like he wasn't really a good OC in Tennessee, but whatever. So we'll see what happens with the Packers. Their defense is getting better. Their offense is clicking. I mean, then they lost their star running back for a few games, right? So now they're gonna have this other running back who's been running the ball pretty well. So maybe he needed a chance too.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys did. And again, the weapons aren't up to NFL elite caliber. Obviously, certainly not as good as the weapons that Rodgers had to work with over the years. This is a work in progress, and I think they're doing a really good job on the field, and coaches are doing a great job too. And Nick had a comment too before I go to Alex comment here about bad coaching in the NFL. We talked about that. I mean, that's part of it. It's not just, again, when I say there's bad teams, it comes down to bad coaching, bad player decisions, and just the NFL changing the game in the wrong direction. You heard what Tom Brady had to say the other day. And again, people took it to mean, there's no good teams. There's good teams. The Eagles are good.
And
the 49ers are good. The Chiefs are good. There's good teams, but there's a lot of bad, mediocre football. And Brady did lump in the coaching, and player development is not what it was. And those are the things that we've talked about for the last few weeks.
Yeah, so like a few years ago, I had that conversation with Brady, and I've been telling him that about the NFL and how all that has.
All your intellectual property, did he? I would sue him because he's got a few loose bucks laying around. So I would sue him, I guess.
So we had that cup of tea together, and we were eating little biscuits and having that break in the midday from London, and right. But. I told him straight up, the last 3 years, I've been saying that for years, the last 3 years of football, maybe even 5 years hasn't been that great. The parity hasn't helped the NFL. It's helped.
This is what parity looks like, guys. This is what it looks like.
It's helped NFL fans because they all have hope, right? So, like Detroit fans, but it's just. But the thing is, and what I kind of still watch football, what I like about the NFL is that the good players will rise to the top. The performances will be there from the good and better players, and that's exciting, right? That's what we want.
Yeah, the good teams are still good, and there's you get the playoff time, and you get the good matchups.
Yeah,
that's fun. Listen, the Eagles, Buffalo's had a good game last week against the Jets. Have been trending down a little bit. I look forward to that Eagles Bills. I think you're going to learn a lot about both these teams. Great win.
Before we go to that, didn't I say that there was going to be an upset from Detroit? Yeah, I did. I didn't put too much put too much money on them as far as or bet on them much. It's not that I dislike Goff. I dislike Goff in that situation, and I don't think that the Detroit Lions will get past the first round because of Goff.
I've said this a lot. I mean, the team's improved, but I think Goff showed you with a better team in my mind in LA, what he does in the big moment. You know, he's not a guy you can rely on to take you to the next step in my mind. So
right. So quick question. Would you give him a re-up on his contract?
That's going to be a tough decision, man. It's not like they got another guy in place, and they're not going to be in position to draft a quarterback. So you almost have to.
Well, unless you got the hooker from UT is on the
roster. But you're going to put your hands in that guy's hands. I'm not.
Well, okay. So here's the thing, Keith, about having that guy, as a rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, coming off of an injury. You have a guy in Goff who's serviceable, who's okay, who has been getting better consistently, right, and staying consistent in Goff, right, because he's not that up and down. He's been almost average. And then you go to a guy who can maybe do almost the same things, but this guy has speed and can run out of the pocket.
But when the thing Goff brings, geez, I'm in trouble talking. Goff brings is usually not yesterday, but he keeps the team in the game because he doesn't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Hooker's going to come in. He's going to make mistakes. This team's going to most likely regress, but maybe that's okay. You regress for a year and then you get better because there's some other pieces in place. Look, there's a lot of questions on this team. There's questions whether their coach will be back next year. Because
you pay Goff $20 million a year.
In today's market, yeah. That's nothing. That's a drop in a bucket for an NFL quarterback today.
Do you think Goff is going to ask for $20 million a year?
Yes, probably more.
Okay. Would you pay him more than 20?
Probably not. Well, it depends. Short term, sure. Long term, no. Not signed into a 5 or 6 year contract at $30 million a year.
Flip the page. Should Goff accept anything less than 25?
But probably not, because there's a lot of dumb owners out there who will pay him what he wants.
You think the Jets or the Giants would pick up Goff 25 plus?
No, I didn't say the Jets or the Giants. When I said stupid owners, that isn't just the New York owners. Don't forget, there's a lot of stupid.
No,
owners.
I mean, and when you said that, I'm talking about just owners in general. I didn't say the word stupid.
You didn't, but you came off the word "I stupid" to mention.
That's an assumption, Keith.
I understand. Where was I? With the amount of bad quarterbacks situations in this league, which we've talked about, he'll get a long-term contract somewhere. So he's probably not coming back to Detroit. Probably.
Would Tennessee pick up that contract and give him more than the Detroit Lions want to give him?
Do you have more? Is he any better than Ryan Tannehill at the end of the day?
I just think he's one of those guys who's an good quarterback, and that no team should pick him up unless they're really, really in dire, desperate need.
Yeah. Look at that. It's a good team. It's not a great team, and they're going to have problems because they may have a quarterback issue. They may have a coach issue because their coach is going to get thrown a lot of money, most likely by Texas A&M, his alma mater, to come back there. And that's where the money is, and coaching is on the college level. So we'll see what happens.
If the quarterback situation was different, do you think the Detroit Lions are going past the first round of the playoffs?
I think they're talented enough to win a playoff game or two. I don't know if they're talented enough to be a Super Bowl contender, but if the quarterback situation if they had one of the elite guys there, sure, because that's the guy who really puts you over the top anyway. It's the Patrick Mahomes, it's the Jalen Hurts that puts you over the top today. I mean, I think the days of Trent Dilfer's winning a Super Bowl are done. You're not going to see those types of quarterbacks win anymore, I don't think. Again, it was always an aberration anyway when somebody like that won. But let's move on here quickly because I've been ignoring Alan's question here. He wants to know, again, a guy you want to rip right and left, Kyle Shanahan. Mm-hmm. I think his father, by the way, got more camera time than he did last night.
Yeah, I saw that.
This team, when they have all the pieces in place like they do right now, they went to Seattle. And I know Seattle's banged up. I know Geno Smith was hurt. But this team dismantled Seattle, took them out of the game early at Seattle, which is a tough place to play.
Yeah, and then you could see one of the things I was giving Seattle credit for is one of the things that hurt them, and it was that young defense, right? Over pursuing. I mean, they were.
How am I going to blame
a little bit back and forth for the first 2 quarters, but
I can't blame the defense here because Seattle in the first quarter gave them the ball inside the 50 about 3 times.
Yeah, but if you hang your hat on defense and they're supposed to keep you in the game, they did that for the first 2 quarters, and after that, your offense has to score points, Keith. Your offense has to score points.
They only scored 10 points in the second half. I mean,
I'm talking about the defense.
I know. I'm talking about the defense for. The offense for San Francisco only scored 10 points in the second half.
Yeah.
They were very good early because they had a short field to work with, but San Francisco's better.
Yeah,
he has a great play caller. And when he's got all those weapons, Purdy's the best quarterback in the game when he's got all those weapons. When he's got everybody healthy, he's completing 75% of his passes, which is amazing. And his quarterback rating is off the charts.
Yeah, again, I'm still not a believer, but he's changing my mind slowly. He make it look pretty out there for sure. I mean,
he can't win. He's not a guy who's going to win. He's not winning Super Bowls like Tom Brady did with Troy Brown and David Patton, quarterback or wide receiver. It's not happening. He can't do that.
I think we have to.
He's good. We
have to look at him for what he's doing and who he is. And he's not Patrick Mahomes, and he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's Purdy. That's what he's going to do. He's going to, just like when we first saw Tom Brady, and like, well, this guy's not going to, he's going to just get hit in the pocket. He's just going to stay there. But that was Tom Brady. It wasn't that he wasn't fast and speedy, because he wasn't fast and speedy. It was that he wasn't going to do those things because that's a detriment to his skill set and his level of play. So
listen,
he's a pocket quarterback, but guess what he has that Tom Brady didn't have? Speed. The guy can run.
Tom Brady ran for 1,000 yards in his career. Took him 20 plus years to get there, but he ran for 1,000 yards.
So, but I think.
And don't forget all the yards that Brady lost with kneeling on the ball at the end of victories. Don't forget about those losses, too. Probably ran for 2,000 yards.
How about that? Purdy might run for 2,000 yards instead of 1,000 because he can. But, again, he don't have to. He doesn't have to. But if he chooses to, he can.
He does have escapability Tom Brady had, but didn't have. But he's not the type of quarterback like a Brady, like a Mahomes, even like a Hurts. Maybe I don't know if I can include.
He's going to pull the ball down and just run.
Well, no, I'm talking about can't win without top level talent around him. Other guys.
Unfortunately, that's where you and I are, but we're not going to be able to see that until he's put in that position, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we've seen it when one of his big guys, Kittle or Samuel or McCaffrey, he's out. He's not quite as good, which makes I understand that nobody would be.
Yeah, but the question is, and we saw him last year in the playoffs, and he got hurt in the playoffs, right?
In the championship game in the first series, yeah. So
we still need to see him in a championship game and take over the team, and we still need to see as a measurement, right?
I agree.
Because even though we saw him last year, again, he didn't finish the game. We want to see this guy progress. And I guess that's what we're afraid of, right? If he can't do it.
He's a top NFL quarterback with a system and the players he plays with.
But he got a little bit of gumption. He's got a little bit of it factor. He got that I forgot about the last play mentality, which is a lot of stuff that you need from a quarterback. You know?
The 49ers have reminded us the last couple of weeks that there's a 3-team race in the NFC. It's the Eagles, it's this team, and it's who am I forgetting? I forgot somebody. Dallas.
What the big thing that the 49ers did was remind people that their defense is not just okay. Their defense is good.
Good morning, Anthony. By the way, great point.
And another thing about that defense is that it has a little bit of what I call I always say this, you got to have a little bit of depth, and their defense got depth.
I've got a comment here, Anthony, and again, welcome Anthony this morning. He's a Washington formerly known as a Redskins fan. The defense was bad, yes. You know what? The offense isn't good either. I will tell you that this kid who set the record, what was his name yesterday? Laurent Bland, I think, right?
Bland, yeah.
Set a record for pick sixes in a season with 5. I think, I don't want to take anything away from him. He's a great player, but I think that's more indicative of the bad play in the NFL than he's a great defensive back. Great defensive backs don't get a chance to run 5 pick sixes back because people don't throw at them.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's the next game. Then we're moving on to the next game.
So again, kudos to him, but I think it's also indicative of the bad play in the NFL. And again, another young quarterback, Sam Howell, made some big mistakes yesterday that cost the Skins big.
I feel like the fact that the play calling was a little blotched up for yesterday's game made Sam Howell look worse than what he could.
Yeah, well, the offensive line wasn't very good for sure.
Yeah, I think, maybe it wasn't the play call. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was the play of the offensive line.
I won't eliminate the play calling either because I saw them 4th and 1 in a shotgun.
I was about to say that.
What are you doing? You can never be in a shotgun 4th and 1. Never.
No. And he did it twice.
Yeah, I know.
They did it 2 times. Like the first time didn't work, so the second time's going to work.
I mean, Anthony wants to fire the defense coordinator. Listen, I don't think you need to worry, Anthony, because I think the whole staff's probably out of here in a couple of weeks. So I think it's pretty clear they need a reboot in Washington.
Look, I was trying to give hope for my boy Jay at the Rec Room Sports, and I'm like, thanks, Botkins.
No, he did put that up right away when we asked, by the way. I
knew there was a U in there somewhere. I knew it wasn't Miami though. It was the West Coast. But hey, here's a question for you, Keith. You fired Jack Del Rio yesterday?
No, I'm not firing anybody for the end of the season. What's the point?
Yeah. So I think, and when we mentioned it on the NFC show on Let's Talk Sports, the roundup, I mentioned to him, it's right now, I think Washington is in a place where it's more about public relations, right? Like the teams already looks bad for certain things. The hot water thing put them in the negative, and you don't want a situation of a cesspool where people don't want to go there for any reason, right? You're just giving people excuses to be players for the next year to be like, I don't know if I want to touch that. They're going to fire the coaches. They're going to, they just got bought out. They don't have hot water. Like, it's just adding to the list of, please, agent, don't send me to Washington.
They traded to Del Rio's defensive players. I mean, I can't fire him during the season. He's going to get fired. He's not coming back next year, and neither is the head coach, unfortunately. I like Ron Rivera a lot.
Yeah.
But, it's time they needed new voices in there entirely.
And I feel for the both of them because they both are veteran coaches in the NFL. It's better if they just step away and resign, right? Like, don't force the ownership's hand.
Oh, you might see that. You might see that with Ron Rivera. You may very well see him after the last game say, I've decided to spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
But again, we talked about this last week. I don't remember the specific instance, but there are guys who resign who are actually fired, right? They were given the chance to resign. Buck Showalter, I think that might have been the case that came up.
Yeah,
Buck Showalter resigned. He didn't really resign. He was fired.
You got to, I feel like for people's sake, and they're trying, and if they're one of those people out of respect, just give them the opportunity to just say, to bow their heads and bow out. Because when you fire someone, what happens is that then you go back for a new job and be like, well, you were fired from your last job. Why should we hire you?
Alec, kind of going back to Green Bay, and maybe Nick might have a comment about this further down. I got some comments. Let me get through these comments once.
Yeah. Let's do this.
So
power to the people.
He was on the hot seat. If that team finishes, 4-13 or 5-12, he might be getting fired. I think now with them being 5-6, they're not losing out. They got a pretty, as Nick said earlier, they got a favorable schedule after the Chief game. They're gonna at least win. They're going 8-9. I think at least he keeps his job.
Here's the thing about Green Bay, and I hope Nick's still here and he hears this. Like, if they fire him, who can they get, and what is it going to cost them? And if that's a question of cost, Green Bay's always been on the bottom half of picking up people at the lower rate than they would if somebody was a top-rated person and having to pay them. I think we can accept that as a.
Well, you're talking about coaches. You're talking about coaches or players. I mean,
this is Green Bay. It's both.
They paid Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year. They got Reggie Smith, Reggie White to come there when he had better offers in other places.
Are you saying that they would put all their eggs in a basket and get the best coach available?
No, coaching. I can't remember an instance where they've gotten like the best coach available, or they've always gone. It seems to me they've always gone the assistant route since I can remember. The last guy who was not an assistant that got the job that I can remember, and Nick, you can straighten me out here, was Dan Devine, who was a college coach.
LaFleur, the current coach, was not. He was an assistant and they made him a coach. No,
that's what I just said. I don't remember anybody that was not an assistant being hired. Going all the way back to, one guy, and he was a college head coach. It was Dan Devine.
Yeah, all right.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every coach they've ever hired, back to Vince Lombardi, was an assistant. Now, some of them worked out fine. Lombardi obviously worked out. Holmgren worked out. I think you can say LaFleur's worked out. They haven't won a Super Bowl, but he hasn't been awful.
I feel like LaFleur is serviceable, and because there's a resurgence, they might just keep him for a couple years. But I wouldn't re-up him. When does his contract end?
I'm not really sure. Nick,
I wouldn't re-up his contract, to be honest with you.
I would think he's got a couple years left on it.
Yeah, so. I think he's got 2 left, but I'll just let it play out. And
Anthony, listen, you're right about AJ Dillon. He's a serviceable guy. He's a good guy to have on your team. He can do a lot of things out of that backfield, but he's not going to carry the load back there. Nick says there are 4 really good teams. After that, it's a crapshoot. More bad teams than good teams. I think there's more than 4, but because I think Buffalo's not as bad as what we've seen here.
Oh my gosh, you had to. Are you saying that because of where you live? Or are you saying that because that's what you think?
No, I could care less. It doesn't. I'm not a Buffalo fan. I hate Buffalo. I try to be objective, which is I know something that might be foreign to you, but I try to be objective.
Oh, I'm objective. I can smell poop when it's in the air, bro.
Now that's not to say, one of the things we'll talk about is coaches in trouble. If this team misses the playoffs this year, Sean McDermott might be on a very hot seat out there. So.
How about that? I can see McDermott get fired and the Green Bay Packers pick him up.
Anthony said that might be. Listen, he's a good coach, but their window's closing. They better probably.
Let me tell you, man.
And the AFC's wide open in my mind.
AFC's wide open.
Kansas City's still the team to beat. People want to write them off every time they have a game that they feel they should have won. Last week's game against the Eagles wasn't pretty, and they want to write them off. But all they do is get to the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl. That's all they do. Anthony saw a report that Jalen Hurts is the number 1 contender in the MVP race, but last game it didn't seem like that. You can't take one game snapshots of these guys when we're playing 17 games.
What Jalen Hurts does well.
He's definitely in the top 3 for the MVP.
But what he does well is he doesn't pick a person and say, that's my guy no matter what. He has the weapons. There's enough weapons there to where they can move the ball around, and they don't put the pressure on him to make the big plays. They put the pressure on him to not make the mistakes.
Yeah. I don't think he's been as dynamic and mistake-free this year as he was last year. He had a tremendous year last year, not quite as good.
I feel like he might have had an injury or 2 that's lagging from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And that's, and also, that offensive play call sometimes, like, everybody's trying to make sure that they know what the Eagles are playing, and they have a running back that's really good. And I think sometimes Hurts will sit there and be like, why do I have to throw the ball if I can get the guy the ball?
Yeah.
Like you can sometimes see that where he's contemplating, they're making a play and then you see him shifting inaudible. And then you're like, why are we throwing this if I got a guy back there who can run the ball? Like, I think, run the ball, dude. And then when they run the ball, they run the ball on teams.
You got to be careful, because as good as these quarterbacks are running the ball, the more they run the ball, the more they run chances of getting hurt. You have to be careful with that.
Not just giving the ball, not just running the ball himself, but running it also with Swift. And,
I see.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. It's like when they have played teams that are poor in the back end, cornerbacks and safeties, they run the ball. But when they play teams that are a little bit stronger on cornerbacks and safeties, they're trying to air the ball out to Brown and Devontae. Yeah. And I'm like, what do you guys are doing this backwards. Like, it's crazy. But, the Eagles are doing well. You got to give them the props. the Chiefs shot themselves in the foot in that game. They
that game doesn't hurt them a lot. It's a non-conference loss. Doesn't hurt them a lot.
It doesn't hurt them, but it doesn't help the Chiefs' confidence in their players, right? And Mahomes' confidence in his own wide receiving core. So
that team has got the confidence of a couple championships in the last 3 years.
Talking about the parity, how did it help fans to root for?
I'm not sure if Kenny, and good morning, Kenny, up on the mountain. I'm not sure if he's talking about this or maybe the Washington conversation we were having about the fans, and the fans want to see. You can't have a toxic situation, but if you're trading your players away, you're going to root for a loser. And I will never root for a loser. Just to be clear, and I got friends who I'll be watching a game with Sunday who will probably want the Patriots to lose. I will never root for my team to lose, ever. I don't want them to lose just to get a better draft pick. Because draft picks, you don't know what's going to happen. You're going to make a bad one anyway most of the time. So, no.
One of the best football minds who's going to the Hall of Fame and did the best thing with the draft, and that's build capital. Right? Mr. Johnson in Dallas built that capital, getting rid of one of his superstars, and it helped them build
absolutely. Herschel Walker trade. Probably
the that they went 4 years in a row and did their thing. So, but GMs, they're not doing that now. They're not playing and using capital. They're using this freaking draft like a Bitcoin all in one and putting all the stock in one in one cryptocurrency. Like, come on, guys, come on.
My coach likes to keep trading down and not making good picks there either. And by the way, Anthony, you're right. The defense still, it's better with Hutchinson and some other guys, but it's not quite up to snuff.
Their defense has enough depth. Their offense is good enough, but that quarterback is their problem.
So Nick is saying that Dan said he wants to stay in Detroit, not go to A&M. We'll see when he gets like $10 million thrown at him.
Yeah, money talks, bro.
That question he's not going to say anything other than I want to stay in Detroit right now. But you may be right, Nick. He's doing a great job there, and you may want to see that job through. But your alma mater is not going to come calling with about $10 million often. So we'll see. Ben Johnson will be a guy that teams covet, probably on the NFL level. Yes, we always want the hot coordinators, and they're a crapshoot, man. They're a crapshoot for sure. Prude is the same as I think he means Purdy is the same as Montana. Control. Listen, let's win one Super Bowl before we compare him to Joe Montana.
Yeah, let's not call guys other great quarterbacks. I heard Robert did the same thing. Robert called Joe Montana, and I'm like, nah, man. Then this guy got a new contract, and he's already on the injured list. So
win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. There's one guy I'll compare. Man, come on. One guy I'll compare to Joe Montana, and I'm guessing you know who it is. So
you would compare Tom Brady to Joe Montana?
He's better, yes, but
better in the sense.
The only guy I can put those two guys in a sentence. I won't put another guy in a sentence with Joe Montana.
Yeah, no, and that's true. And I think generationally speaking, Joe Montana was great, and for our generation, Tom Brady was great. And I don't want to compare both of them because I don't think that's fair. In the sense where
comparisons are always problematic, right? And if you're going to compare a guy to either one of those guys, it's Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, that's the guy you compare.
That's a tough one too, because
you have to. He's got the Super Bowl wins. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Nobody wants to go there. Horrible stadium. Horrible.
Watkins. You need to visit Washington.
What are we talking about? Are we talking
about the former Redskins, the Commanders, right now? Watkins here. How about this, man? Maybe next year we can get together. I'm not showing any like. I've been to those games to see the Giants play, and that fan base out there, man. That's a good fan base.
It is.
That they follow their team. They're one of the teams in the bottom half of the list where fans follow them to different places. Got rich history. The only history that they don't want that they're stuck with is
the last 20 years.
Yeah, the terrible ownership that they had in the last few years, and the fact that
20 years,
and the fact that guy forced his hand with that state and that situation to keeping that stadium. Because I've been to that stadium and it's not wasn't that great.
I never liked it when teams build out in the suburbs and whatnot.
It's not in the suburbs. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Well, they're whatever, right? It's out of the city. I'm saying they're better off with a team. I like teams that play where they play in Washington.
They should play in Washington.
Oh, sorry, the New York teams don't play in New York.
Yeah, New York. That's one of the things that have been bothering me for a long time is that New York doesn't play in New York, even though that hasn't happened since Polo Grounds and Shea Stadium, whatever.
Listen, Ron Rivera is a good football coach. He hasn't done a bad job in Washington. He was, as we just talked about, was working in a toxic work environment.
Right.
Couldn't get guys to come there. And I think with what he's had to work with, Ron Rivera has done a pretty good job in Washington. But you're right. He's a new owner, and I've said he's going to get fired. There's very little about that.
And I mentioned this for the show. It's like this new ownership, they know about championship in all levels of different sports. They're not just an ownership group that is NFL ownership. They have guys there that have ownership in MLB and NHL, and even now they're doing pickleball. So listen, these guys, and WNBA. So these guys know about trying to fix franchises, trying to make a standard. And you got a guy like even a partial owner like Magic Johnson, who's very competitive and a very great business mind. That team in Washington will be a force to be reckoned with in the next few years, faster than the New York Giants. And I'm doing that as a hot take. How about that?
Okay, that's a good take. To Anthony's point here, I don't know if that's accurate. I'm sure it didn't hurt his standing, but listen, Ron Rivera, to his credit, battled cancer, and as far as I know, didn't miss a practice or a game. Yeah. And kudos to him for beating a horrible disease, as we all know. Very close to us actually recently, and so kudos to him. Maybe that's why, Anthony, but I just don't think that. I don't think that management in the NFL is that has that much of a heart to say, okay, we'll keep it because he beat cancer. We can't fire him.
Again, like we said before, you gotta give the guy respect. And his respect.
I'm sure. All of it.
There's ways to handle situations. The situation in Washington with new ownership is very delicate as far as PR, marketing, and as far as how other people perceive it.
Oh, good call here. Nick correcting me. So again, we're a little behind on comments. So Nick's Joe Barry, the DC Jet. This is back to Green Bay, is more on the hot seat. He thinks Matt is safe, and Ray Rhodes. I forgot about Ray Rhodes. Had already been an NFL coach when he came to Green Bay. Good catch.
I know Ray Rhodes from Detroit, right? He went from Detroit to
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, I believe.
He was at Detroit though. Wasn't Ray Rhodes at Detroit?
I don't know if he was ever the head coach at Detroit. You might be thinking.
I think he was a coordinator.
Yeah, Mike Caldwell was there. I know in Detroit. No, I don't think Ray Rhodes was. Ray Rhodes had some good years in Philadelphia, but. Yeah. Good catch. So again, that's probably the only guy since Vince Lombardi or before. That's a lot of years, guys. 60 or 70 years we're talking about. CA's with us here. Give us our little dart update today. PDC Players Championship started today. He's watching while listening to us. Good morning,
CA. On ESPN Quattro.
I don't know where. I'm not sure where he's getting these dart tournaments, but
did you ever see the dodgeball movies with Ben Stiller?
Oh yeah, great movie.
Yeah, you see how they made the play on ESPN and how they had so many networks. ESPN Quattro.
Dodgeball's huge today. There's a lot of that out there. You can probably find it somewhere on one of the ESPN somewhere. Ray Rhodes did go from Philly to Green Bay. 1 year wonder gone.
That was great. That was just
right.
Yeah,
I forgot about him. I was scraping my mind for these coaches. Alex says they'd like to know your opinion. I don't know. It's got to play out. We still got a lot of football to play.
How about this, Alec? If anybody from that team gets MVP, it should be McCaffrey for consistently every game carrying. How many carries he averages every game? He's
staying healthy too, and that's the other thing.
Yeah, I think McCaffrey's the bigger piece of that than Purdy.
I think the problem with Purdy, and it's a quarterback award mostly. As we know.
They should just have a quarterback award, don't they? I'm
just saying. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying, yes, McCaffrey may very well be an MVP of the league for sure. The problem with Purdy, I think, Alec, is going to be what I've talked about before, is that he's perceived by me and probably others, and maybe it's wrong, and Tom Brady had this rap against him for a long time too, that he's a product of the system and the players. Well, not Tom Brady with the players around him, but the system is what, and it fits him perfectly. He shouldn't really be knocked for that. I don't really mean to knock him, but I don't think if you put him on a team with less weapons, he's going to carry a team to victory. That's what the MVP is. The guy you could do it. Well, maybe they could at least do without him, but what am I trying to say? Yeah, they could at least do without him than any other player. That's the MVP. The guy that if you take him out of the lineup, the team doesn't win. I think San Francisco might be able to plug in somebody and still make the playoffs. I think. I don't think Kansas City is, by the way. We want to talk about MVPs. And again, I don't want to knock Purdy. He's played well. And I still think there's something wrong with his arm. I still don't think it's 100% healthy. CA says, well, it's hard to find. I believe you hated the Bills when Jim was leading them.
Is that for you? Because I'm not a Bills fan.
I was a Patriot fan. Why would I have liked them when Jim Kelly was leading them?
Did you look that? And I know I bag on the Bills a lot
because we stunk and they were good. I hated them more.
I know I bag on the Bills a lot, and those 4 years were awesome for the AFC Bills team. It was very hard to see them do well while the Jets were just terrible and still terrible now. But like awesome. But they couldn't get over the hump. So and they tried, but how many teams do that 4 years in a row, go to a Super Bowl?
It's very hard to do, and they shouldn't be knocked for that. I mean, they didn't win, I get it, but no team's ever gone to four in a row. Nobody, win or lose. Nobody's ever been to 4 in a row.
And mind you, those 4 games, all 4, maybe one of those games they lost, but the other 3, listen, they were competitive in the game.
I've said to people forever, and I'm not a Bills fan by any stretch of imagination. I was rooting for them that day because they were playing the Giants, who I hated the first game. I truly believe if Norwood makes that field goal, they might very well win 3 Super Bowls of those 4.
Yeah,
once that happened, hold on. Once that happened, things started just snowballing everything, and they started looking for things to go wrong, kind of like Mac Jones today. And they just got blown out of games before they even got started. For the most part.
They were in the game with Washington.
No, they were really never in there. They were out of that game as soon as Thurman Thomas lost his helmet, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
that's just that was indicative of what was happening, right? You can't find your helmet to start the game. Come on. Ugh. I knew they were going to lose that day. I bet them that day too. I remember that. So,
three games.
To Anthony's point, I don't know. I appreciate you saying I was right, but the guy I thought all these guys ought to take, and I said would be the best quarterback of this class, still might be as Will Levis.
Well,
right? But C.J. Stroud is having a great rookie season. Not good, great.
Yeah,
he's got this team in the hunt for the playoffs, which nobody thought would happen.
Yeah, he should be MVP.
Great job by DeMarco Ryan and his quarterback and the other players. Not taking anything away from the rest of the players either.
I mentioned this in some of the shows too. Like the NFL has a power to flex. They need to flex these Texans games so we can see this guy play.
You might see some of them. You got to go somewhere like I do where you get all the games so you can watch all the games.
Oh man, I ain't doing stuff illegally, and I ain't paying for stuff that's
not doing it illegally. I go to a tavern that has all the games on. They pay for them.
Oh, you like okay?
Listen, I'm a straight shooter. I don't do illegal stuff. What are you talking about?
I'd rather not spend 3 hours at a bar and watch a game
with
people that might be rooting for the team I'm rooting against.
Believe me, when the Patriots were good, everybody rooted against them. I loved being in that atmosphere.
I'm sure you walked in with your biggest Patriot jersey or coat.
I always wear, and even now
it was like, yeah, I'm in the bar. We're gonna win.
2-8. I got my sideline uniform on. I got my pullover, my sideline pants, and my hat. I'm still in full gear, even at 2-8. I don't hide. I'm true to my school always. And CJ. So, by the way, speaking of Texans, another guy doing a great job there is Derek Stingley Jr. Great piece last night. If you didn't watch the 49er game last night. Go back and see the halftime report. And it was a story about John Madden. A lot of stuff about Madden yesterday, obviously, on Thanksgiving. And there was a story about him and Derek Stingley, who was paralyzed against his Oakland Raiders in a preseason game, and how he stayed with Derek Stingley in the hospital in Oakland when his team had to leave, and there was nobody else there. And
even his wife had a piece in that. Yeah, it
was a great story, and how the family stayed connected, and Derek's son, Daryl's son Derek, who played in the Arena Football League, actually here in Albany. He actually met Mike Madden, John Madden's son, and it was really kind of cool. It was a great story. Go! If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it because it's really kind of cool. What else we got? We got a lot. You guys, by the way, you guys have stepped up this morning big time because I said I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about your Yankees picking up. Whatever.
We'll get into that next week. Joe was put into a situation with how many Hall of Famers. Great point. When he went to KC and got them to the playoffs and lost, there was still some good players in Marcus Allen.
They have Marcus Allen.
Allen there. They had some great defensive players.
Wasn't Gonzalez on that team too? Wasn't he like a second year?
I don't know if maybe Gonzalez might have been there Joe's last year. I'm not really sure if they overlapped or not.
Was he in Atlanta? But I don't know. But still, they still have some players.
Purdy's in a really good situation, Kenny. I'll give you that. He does control the team. You know what? I'll give you that then. But you got to win some Super Bowls for me.
Man.
Sense with Joe.
I mean, I know he got hurt last year in the playoffs, and he wasn't able to do anything because of that. But I think, like I said, the measurable is when we see him go past the playoff games into a Super Bowl and see what he can do in the Super Bowl. I think that's when the measurables kind of just go peak. You're right. Like we'll see that, okay, this is the player that we want to see as a quarterback.
And I'm sure this is geared towards the Washington situation. Anthony, good fan. Can't wait for the new regime and be at the game next year. Solid Redskins fan. Sorry for the Commanders.
But I didn't even finish my statement with Botkins. Botkins, if you're still listening, man, we'll get together and go to a game in Washington and check it out. Like just so you see what it's like. No, not Green Bay ain't the only ones that have a bunch of crazy fans, man.
You better go on Green Bay's there, I guess. But Nick is still commenting. Ron Rivera has had only 3 winning seasons. He's not a good head coach. He hasn't coached very good teams either, I would have to say. I'm sorry. I seem to be.
He hadn't worked with very, very great ownership either.
I didn't say he was a great coach. I said he was a good coach, and you're saying he's not even good. I think he is. You don't stay that long you don't stick around places as long as he has without being a good coach. He hasn't had the best talent. Name me one quarterback, and Cam Newton doesn't count. He had one good season, and he's a freaking head case to begin with. And when he had Cam Newton at the top of his game, he took him to a Super Bowl. So with a very limited roster around him. So look, I know overall his body of work doesn't probably look that good. Doesn't mean he's not a good coach. Not a great coach. Tua is more an MVP than Purdy.
That's a good, yeah.
Tua is
Anthony. That's a good
healthy and played very well. Yeah. They got some bad losses that are going to hurt them though. Lose by 35 to the Bills who weren't playing good. Good morning, Rick. Good to have you with us. Rick's got some comments probably coming up here. Thomas is still looking for his helmet.
Are you saying that because you have his helmet? Is that why you're saying that?
Rick, I think, was probably on the sideline doing security, and he took his helmet just to make him look bad. Us Perth guys, that's the way we operate. Jim was a Hurricane. I see. Listen, I'm a Hurricane fan by marriage, really. So but Jim Kelly was there before the Hurricanes even became a national phenomenon. And again, I don't want to go off on a tangent because we got 10 minutes left. I talk about this on the college football huddle a lot, and people talk about, the great tradition of the Miami Hurricanes falling apart the last decade. I'm like, the Hurricanes aren't Alabama. They aren't Michigan. They aren't Notre Dame. They had a 20-year run where they had good teams, not decades and decades and decades like some of these other programs.
Within that time frame, it was sporadic. It wasn't consistent.
Well, it was consistent in the 80s and early 90s with first Schnellenberger, then Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson. It was good then. Then it got a little sporadic, and it was a while before they won their last championship. So But no, I wasn't a huge. I rooted for the Hurricanes that first national championship against Nebraska. That was a lot of fun. What do we got here? Kenny says TGI residential superstar. That's you, Rick. You got a new moniker now. He's a security chief here too now. He doesn't.
Josh Allen, poor guy. Like
Josh Allen is the best and worst player on a team. That's a big issue. You know what? That's a great statement because when Josh Allen is good, he's as good as anybody in the NFL. But you don't know who you're getting from week to week. That's
Dr.
not
Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Come on, man. You got it. You can't consistently be like, I don't know. Like
you need consistency out of that position. That's position out of any you need consistency out of.
Well, and there was a few things that were talked about in some of the NFL commentators and on NFL Today, and then also other people mentioned that they were trying to keep him in the pocket more, and that's not his game, and he's trying to do his thing and stay in the pocket to preserve him, to make sure that he can last the whole season. And that's affecting him as well. And I'm like, to what I say is that's part of being a quarterback. You got to adjust, right? You got to change. If the things are not working, you have to change and to become better and make your team better. Like him running the ball wasn't the problem. The problem is that he's running the ball too much and he's running more than his running back. And then they're not winning the games even when he is running the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's the Bills, man. This is what they do.
The John DeLon, our resident SEC elitist, commenting on some NFL stuff. He likes to rip us Yankees up here. So those Bills were the reason the NFL implemented a salary cap. I hate salary caps, by the way. The haves and the have-nots. If you want to be a have, then you should make your team better, make your organization better. I don't like putting in artificial means of making teams on a level playing field like salary caps. You end up with parity and bad football like we have now. It's okay to have a bunch of good teams and, 2 or 3 teams that are just awful. It's not good when you got 12 teams that are just awful. So, again, they probably are. He's right. They are the reason they implemented that. Kenny says, when Keith makes it big, I can be his personal bodyguard and driver.
With that picture, if you keep that picture, you can.
If I get bigger than this, I won't be able to fit back through the door. Oh, maybe he's talking about a different kind of big. I don't know. Coach of the year has to be DeMarco Ryans right now in my mind is going to run away with this award.
DeMarco Ryans?
Unless the Texans collapse, DeMarco Ryans definitely coach of the year material. Oh, God. We'll talk about this maybe more Sunday, Rick. This is a local high school team up here who've been the Fonda Braves forever. And, of course, we can't be the Braves because we have to change the name because, we're offending somebody somewhere. And
I'm sure somebody somewhere wants to build a casino as well.
Decades and decades of history, they don't care, I mean.
They've been fighting putting the casino out in the Hamptons.
It's never and again, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there's some indigenous people who are upset about these names, but you know what? It's always some freaking woke white guy or woman who's speaking up for them. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous. I know I'm probably just going to get canceled now myself, but whatever.
You just canceling yourself.
That's what I do. Good morning. How about them Cowboys? Alan, you made it in time to say great performance yesterday. Dak Prescott played great. The defense played great.
But you just talked bad about Bland.
No. I said I don't want to take anything away from him, but great quarterbacks don't get the ball thrown at them enough to run 5 picks back. They just don't. I mean, this is a good football team.
Have you been watching him play?
I want to defend the Cowboys for a second because people get down on the Cowboys. This is a good football team. They just need to win some playoff games or they're never going to be perceived that as such.
Keith, in every game, Bland, since Diggs has been gone for his injury, this guy stepped up more than tenfold.
Well, then they better stop throwing the ball at him, I guess. I mean, because
I don't know what to tell you. All I know what to say is that he stops people running for first downs when it's like down the wire.
I guarantee you guys like Deion Sanders and Ty Law, they don't have 5 pick sixes for their entire career. You know why? Because nobody throws the ball at them. This is why guys get those types of.
But this is what mediocrity, what we have mentioned
That's
before, will bring to you.
That's
However, you can't take away from this guy's talent and the potential that he has, because he's only like a six. Isn't he? Is he a rookie or second year player?
All these guys are talented.
Not. I mean,
look, they're more talented than we are. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that? But if you, I don't know how I can say this, but he's replaced an all-star cornerback, and it just goes to show
that. I get it. People now maybe they should stop throwing at him.
Other guys go in for safeties and cornerbacks and just are lost. This guy goes in and he's on point.
Don't fall in love with stats like pick six.
No. It's not stats. I'm talking about watching the game and watching him actually play. He plays the position well. I mean, he does.
But tell me why quarterbacks keep throwing at him and offense coordinators keep throwing at him.
There's a lot of stuff that mediocre quarterbacks do or young quarterbacks do, and that's not – Bland's not at fault for that. He's just at the right place at the right time, doing the right things.
Let me get
I'm not a Dallas fan, but I'm a fan of this guy. I watch him play, and he's doing a great job taking over for somebody who is known also as a great cornerback.
Let me get through the rest of these comments because we only got a couple minutes left. We're not going to really comment. I'm going to just kind of touch on them real quick. John does enjoy a good Yankee ripping, of course. We were the Red Raiders at Perth, absolutely. Proud of it. Some tribes are upset that the names are being changed. Exactly. Great point, Alan. Excellent point. Some are not. They liked the notoriety. When woke people breathe, it offends me.
John, I'm offended by you saying that it offends you, that you're offended.
I'm not offended by anything but people that are offended by everything. Bland leads the league in picks. I just said why, though, Alan. Great cornerbacks never lead the league in picks. What good team the Cowboy? What good team?
I'm not saying who they beat. I'm saying how this guy's playing. So
Paul Peters, holy shit, this guy without the hair looks like he's plotting to take over the world. Listen, don't be revealing my plans here on live TV, Paul. That's the most interesting thing that's ever been said about me. The tribe in Fonda is outraged, and they had to change their name to it's the Tri Valley, home of many tribes. Very good point. That's where Perth played as well, the Tri Valley League. I'm not sure that Fonda actually plays in the Tri Valley League anymore. I don't think there's a league there called that.
Yeah, I agree with Jason.
Jason, good to have you with us. I might be a new viewer. Cowboys running game will get exposed in crunch time. We'll see. You're right. I mean, again, they miss Zeke. I'm sorry.
I feel like Pollard needs to be.
Can't be the number one guy. He's not. They shouldn't have made him the number one guy. He's a good change of pace and a good back in what the system they ran.
No. I think he can be a great player. They just need to make sure that they use him for his skills and his ability, not just for his position.
I'd be throwing at Gilmore more. He's as old as I am, for crying out loud, Alex. So anyway, congratulations to your Cowboys yesterday. I don't think anything. It was a great victory. Got to win a playoff game here somewhere. Guys, I asked you guys to step up today, and you guys did it because I didn't have to get into one thing I wrote down real quick.
No picks. Iron Ball, Alabama.
Alabama, easy. Upset. My upset was going to be oh, shit. I forgot now. I don't have time. I'll give you the upset. Ohio State over Michigan. You're getting 3. I'll take Ohio State in the big game tomorrow. How about that? All right, guys. Carlos, great job today. We'll catch you guys later.
Happy holidays, people.
Sunday. Fred Spence. Oh, finally. Good night, guys.